Hi everyone, welcome back. It's our last week of class and it's a little bittersweet. I am so happy to have been on this journey with you and I hope you'll continue with the next set of classes. I found in my own practice that it's important to keep moving forward even if you feel like you haven't mastered all the material from the first class. And if you feel like you want to repeat the course, you have all the material online to rewatch the videos at your own pace. For our last week of class, we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite laws. It's the law of being. It's what it means to really feel alive. We'll work more on visualization and start to build your attention span. And your journaling will bring you closer to figuring out what you really want, how to get it. And then your diet challenge this week, it's kind of a challenge. It's a big challenge. So in order to feel really alive, we have to start paying attention. I wonder if you've noticed lately how attention deficit we are as a society. The idea of focusing on one thing is so foreign to us now that television and movie directors actually change camera angles every 15 seconds to make sure we don't get bored. Also, many web clips are kept under a minute to make sure that people don't turn them off. This week, we're going to work on a few things, but the big one is understanding what your attention really is. Now, if thought is motion, then it has to be focused to be effective. We've seen lightning strike in the air and it spreads across the sky and it makes this beautiful sight and a big clap of thunder. But the electricity that comes from lightning is wasted unless it's channeled effectively. Electricity channeled properly travels through wires into your home and into very specific outlets. And when plugged into the right machine, it can dry your hair, it can light up a room, it can make coffee for you. If you plug in your curling iron to make your coffee, nothing's going to happen. Energy is only effective if it's channeled properly. Well, thoughts are the same. They can scatter like lightning and make no impact, or they can be focused and move through the right channel and into the right machine to get the results you want. The effects of your thoughts depend entirely on the mechanism to which they're attached. Now, that machine is the human brain, and each human brain is unique. Everything around you now, your office, your computer, your clothes, the cup that's holding your coffee, and the lights that help you see, they're all the results of someone's thoughts at some point. The thoughts are funneled through the brain and carried through our bodies by the use of our nervous system. The blood supply picks up and distributes oxygen and nutrients through our body, and it renews our energy and our strength. The entire thing is encompassed in this beautiful clothing of skin that makes each body a beautiful container for its individual, unique I who controls the entire thing. So if energy starts as lightning and is channeled properly into wires and funneled into your home, then you know that when you plug in the coffee pot, you put coffee grounds and you put water in the machine and then you flip the switch, you get a cup of coffee. Now your thoughts are the same. Thoughts are random bits of energy channeled properly from your brain into the nervous system, just like those wires. When you're plugged into your unique purpose, just like plugging in a coffee pot, and your body's fueled properly, just like the water and the coffee grounds, and you flip the switch, you get the efforts of your thoughts, which is a fantastic cup of coffee. Now sometimes we channel our energy into something that we don't really want. So where are you focusing your energy? Are you plugging in your curling iron and expecting to get coffee? If so, it's time to change your focus. If you're plugging in a $10 Mr. Coffee pot from the 70s, maybe it's time to change the quality of your thoughts. You only get what you want if you can properly focus the energy, and you do that with your attention. There are two sides to this equation that we need to learn this week. Our thoughts respond directly in proportion to our purpose and our faith. In other words, what machine are you plugging in and is it turned on? So today we're going to talk about these two really important things, purpose and faith. Last week, I gave you a way to set your plans in motion to achieve what you're destined to achieve. The law of attraction states that when you ask for something, the universe starts going into motion to make sure that that thought turns into physical form. Now, this week, we're going to discuss an even bigger law. It's the law of being. The law of being states that our purpose in life can manifest itself as long as it's creative or constructive. So what does that mean to us? Well, let's take this statement apart. When I talk about being, I'm talking about who you really are, what you're doing with your life. When you think about being, what does that mean to you? Our being is our existence. It's the act of living. It's being alive. When I ask people what it is to feel really alive, a lot of people refer to some sort of adrenaline rush that's caused by nearly dying. They say, I've never felt more alive than when I went skydiving. Yeah, that's true. You'll feel very alive if you feel very close to death, but living doesn't come from a series of near-death experiences. The law of being tells us that real living is finding your purpose in life. So you might be thinking, like, come on, Carrie, seriously? Finding your purpose? Isn't that the big question that we all have? Don't people search their whole lives for that? I mean, it's the eternal question. The statement says that our purpose in life will manifest. So what does that mean for something to manifest? According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, to manifest means to make evident or certain by showing or displaying. Manifestation is a process of discovery through unveiling. It's like putting together a puzzle, but having no picture to guide you. Each piece clicks together and creates a little picture that tells you a little bit more about your life's purpose. Each little picture connects to another little picture, making it even clearer. When we live in accordance to the law of being, we start to see that big picture more and more. The right puzzle pieces just start snapping into place. So what are those pieces? Well, you've spent some time the past few weeks looking for examples of synchronicity. So have you noticed anything interesting or anything out of the ordinary? Anything that stands out as repetitive? The law of being states that your purpose in life will manifest. Your purpose will make itself clear by showing itself to you. You don't need to sit down and figure out your purpose. It will make itself very clear to you, but it has one condition. It must be creative or constructive. So let's go back to the dictionary. The definition of creativity is having the quality of something new rather than imitated, something that's never existed before. Whether that creation is like a real live human child or a book or a painting, the creative process means starting with nothing and using the gifts of your mind and your body to create something that is truly unique to you, giving birth to something new. Being creative does not mean recreating a project that you saw in a magazine or something online. That's someone else's creativity. You're just imitating what they're doing. That doesn't mean that creative projects aren't enjoyable or that they don't make you happy. You can use projects to give you inspiration or as a learning tool or even as a starting point. But remember that true creativity will give you more pieces of the puzzle that are unveiling your life's purpose. That means creating something completely new, not imitated. The other condition for manifestation of your life's purpose is that if it's not creative, it has to be constructive. For something to be constructive, it must promote improvement or development. You can promote the development of other people. You can improve a city or a town. You can improve processes by making them more efficient. You can develop minds by teaching. There are many, many options for constructiveness. The opposite of constructive is destructive. Going back to what we were talking about last week. You just can't gain by injuring someone else because we're all one and the same. You can only gain by building up others. When you're constructive, your plans will help others because you're helping them and they'll want to help you. On top of it all, your life's purpose will start to show itself, which is really not a bad trade. So if you want to find out what it is that will make you feel the most alive, you have to live according to the law of being. Your life's purpose can manifest itself as long as it's creative or constructive. When you look back at your journaling from last week, what is it that you earnestly desire? Ask yourself, is it creative or constructive, or both? If so, it will help you, show you what your purpose in life is. While your desires are finding their way to you through the law of attraction, you'll also be giving the most amazing gift of all through the law of being, a clear evidence of your life's purpose, that thing that makes you feel alive. So if your earnest desire is a great new career, you have to focus your thoughts on how that new career will be creative and constructive. A new job will not only create joy and happiness in your life, but also will allow you to teach others about your profound knowledge, create jobs for other people, and create joy and happiness for others. If you focus on creativeness and constructiveness, you'll feel like each piece of the puzzle just snaps into place without having to search for the right piece. We tend to search for new jobs based on money, location, and moving up the corporate ladder. Then when you change your thoughts, you'll realize that getting a new job isn't about building up your resume or making more money. It's about accomplishing something greater. In this way, you'll start to see what your life's purpose is, and you'll see that it's in line with the purpose of the universal mind, which is to bring the greatest good to the greatest number of people. When you start to see what it is that you truly desire and see that the results are creative and constructive for others, then you've found your purpose. So going back to our coffee analogy, you've found your coffee pot and you're ready to make coffee, but not so fast. You're missing something really important. You have to plug it in. So if on one hand, you found or are getting closer to finding your purpose, then the other side of the ratio is faith. Now, eyes glaze over when I bring up the word faith. Faith often refers to religious devotion, but the real definition of faith is a firm belief in something you cannot see. When you plug in your coffee pot and you push the button, you have a firm belief that you'll have a cup of coffee in minutes, even though you can't see the electricity that's coming from the wall. In the same way, it's not a struggle for us to believe that the lights will turn on when we flip a switch. In fact, it surprises us when they don't. When the lights fail, we don't call the electric company, we change the light bulb or we check the fuse box. Even though we can't see it, we strongly believe that it's there for us all the time. All we need to do is find an outlet. Similarly, you have to have a firm belief that the energy bringing your goals, dreams, and life's purpose is flowing, just like the energy that lights up a room. The degree of your belief that the universe is bringing you that new career will determine how long it takes for it to manifest. Just like if the power is flickering, it's going to take longer for your coffee to brew. Belief in the law of attraction or the law of being can be the same. When you get to the point where you believe in these laws in the same way that you believe in the laws of electricity, you'll have success in your endeavors because there's really no fear of failure. This belief comes from experience. Focus your attention on your goals and be aware that when things start to fall into place, it's not a coincidence. Remove doubts and fears about your purpose. Remember, our thoughts manifest in proportion to our purpose and our faith. The stronger your faith and the clearer your purpose, the faster the thoughts will take action. The law of attraction depends on the law of being. If you really want something to manifest in your life and you want to see the signs of your life's purpose, it has to be creative and constructive, and you must believe in it effortlessly. So for your guided journaling this week, I'll have you do some exercises to help build your faith that the law of attraction and the law of being are not only real, but as dependable as making coffee in the morning. Last week, we did some exercises on an earnest desire. And I want you to keep that desire in your head this week and look for signs that you're on the right path, synchronicity about your goal. Try not to waver back and forth about whether you'll achieve the goal or not. Sometimes in asking for one thing, the universe gives us something completely different. But what I want you to do is look for signs from the universe that your goal is creative or constructive. In your journal, there are some questions that will really, really make you think about what you're doing in your life. And I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Some of these questions refer to people who are supporting you and people who aren't supporting you. I'm going to challenge you to spend more time with people who are supportive and less time with people who aren't. This doesn't mean that you need to break up with somebody or lose a friend or quit your job. What I find when I do this process is that there are people around me who are amazingly supportive that I just haven't made an effort to spend time with. Start cultivating relationships with the people who are supportive of you. Let those supportive relationships take up your time. Cultivate relationships with people who allow you to be creative and constructive in your goal. Really take some time to write the answers in your homework this week. This week's work is really important to getting things done, so don't skip it. So I want to know how you guys did with synchronicity this week. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Now I want to do another quick write exercise, and we're going to take a full minute. It's a long time, and I want you to think about all the events from the week. I want you to list anything that happened when things just kind of fell into place, or any random run-ins with interesting people, new people you met, strange topics of conversation, anything you can think of. Now remember, it's Monday, so you had Monday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the weekend, right? So I want you to take a minute and just write stuff down. So let me get my clock out and start. So think about anything that comes up. You've got about 10 more seconds. Okay, go ahead and stop. Okay, you're done. All right, so you should have a small list of things that happened during the week. Now, some of mine are like my Christmas with my family. This is the first time my mom and my stepmom and my dad were all together in the same room. That was an interesting thing. I had a really interesting conversation about trains with the guy from Alaska who was odd. And just little things like that. So now what I want you to do is take a look at your list. And even though they all seem really random, I want you to have a look at how they're constructive or creative. So take another sheet of paper, and we're going to take another minute. And I just want you to look at those and think about the lessons that you learned from them, or how you're helping other people or other people helped you. Okay? Take a minute to write what you learned from these experiences about your own dreams and your own goals. All right? So here, we're going to take a minute. Ready? Go. About 10 seconds left. Okay, and go ahead and stop. All right, so what kind of stuff did you come up with? Anything cool? You can write them in the chat if you want to. I mean, for me, my family being together was really great. It was good to see my family, but it also was the first Christmas that I spent Christmas Day alone, because we did all our family stuff before. And for me, I learned that I can be away from my family on holidays and it's okay. It's not a big deal. So for me, one of my big goals is to go overseas and live overseas, and not being close to my family has always been a big fear of that. So this is something that was a constructive example of, of that. I think it's really important that we start to see that there's a lesson in everything. So even though spending Christmas Day by myself, watching TV and eating Chinese food could have been looked at as kind of sad and lonely, it also is something that taught me something new. Another one, a client told me to watch a movie that I have been meaning to watch forever, and I finally found it and watched it. And I got about halfway through, and they were playing piano in the movie, and I started playing those songs on the piano again. I got out some music that I haven't played in a while, and that's very creative for me, so that's very cool. Some of the comments we had is receiving emails related to your goals, like just randomly, which is really cool. And then, having a conversation with someone about your goal, being able to say it out loud or to talk about it is really cool. So, there are things like that. The synchronicity things that come up are sometimes things that just slap you in the face, like something like getting an email randomly, totally randomly, about your goal is really, really cool. And something about publishing too. It's really cool. I mean, these are great things, and it's a sign. They're like the green lights that you are on the right path. But what's really cool about it is that not only is it a sign that says you're on the right path, it also is starting to put the pieces together, the people and the events and the places that are going to help you reach your goal. And that's what's really cool. It's like your purpose is starting to manifest through other people telling you what they need from you and what they expect from you, what they want from you. It's really kind of cool. So the purpose of this exercise is really just to see all these experiences in your life as learning tools. They're not random events. And so your journaling this week is going to be incredibly soul searching. So give yourself some quiet time to really think about your answers and be really honest with yourself. It's a big week. I know I say that every week, but this one, it's good work, good exercise. Then when we go into our meditation, this week's lesson, we talked about the law of being, about allowing your true purpose to show itself to you. To make that happen, we need to be able to channel our thoughts in the right way and work on the skill of holding your attention. Now, this takes a lot more visualization practice. So this week, I'd like you to take a photograph of a person, of a place, or an object that you really care about. And I want you to set a timer for 10 minutes and just stare at the picture, study it, study all of its details. Now, it sounds easy, but how many times do you spend 10 minutes looking at the same thing without getting distracted? So spend those 10 minutes and really focus on everything you can think of. Then close your eyes and try to recreate the picture in your mind's eye. Go over every detail, every wrinkle in the person's face, the color of their clothing, the decorations in the room, every detail you can imagine. Now, there are 2 points to this exercise. The first one is to practice holding your attention on the object for 10 minutes with your eyes open. And 2, to familiarize yourself with what visualization really looks like in your mind's eye. It's more like a process. It's like I was talking about putting together the pieces of the puzzle. It's not really like you'll get the picture. You'll get like, oh, an eyeball and then a chin and then there's a curtain, and you'd see it as you go. You probably won't be able to see the entire image at one time like it's a reproduction, but you'll be able to recall very specific pieces and parts bit by bit. It's like you're actually painting the picture in your mind. It's important in visualization to focus on creating an image in your mind for an extended period of time without getting distracted. If you notice that your mind starts to wander, just go back to recreating the picture. This is one of my favorite exercises. I do it all the time. You can do this every day if you're caught up in your meditations, or you just do it a few times. Even once, you're going to get a lot of benefit. It's a very effective way to start building attention and mastering visualization. Now, this week, your body challenge is actually really simple. I want you to spend time solidifying the memory of the 8 stretches that I've taught you so far. If your body challenges have been easy for you up to this point, if you feel really good about the stretches, then I want you to try something new, something that you've always wanted to do for yourself that requires movement of some sort. Take it easy and be honest with what you can do, but do something that you find really enjoyable. New Year's is a busy time at the gym, but now's the best time, greater than ever, because you won't be the only new person there. So you could go for a swim, you could take a dance class, you could go for a scenic walk, you could do something new. The best way to really feel alive is to get your body moving in a way that it hasn't before. So if you're feeling a bit behind, I want you to spend the week just doing your 10-minute walks and solidifying the stretches that you've learned up to this point. If you feel caught up, do some more, do something new. But I want you to be able to do all these stretches from memory without use of the videos. Now that you know all these moves, you can focus on making sure you're resisting and moving. I can't stress enough the importance of doing these stretches. The first place that fear manifests in our bodies is in your muscles. And through stretching, you're starting the process of removing the effects of past fear in your life. This is going to help with all the other things that we're working on. The effects of stretching are not just physical. They affect you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We'll get to that stuff in the later courses, but for this week, just make sure you're stretching. And then your diet challenge, you're 6 weeks in, and you've made some important changes to your dietary routine as well. This week, I'm going to ask you to do something that might seem extreme. I'd like you to completely cut dairy out of your diet for an entire week. I know it's difficult, but it's only 1 week, 7 days, that's it. I want you to challenge yourself and see if you can do it. There are many reasons not to eat dairy, which I'll describe to you, but the most important reason for you to make this change is to increase your awareness, not only of how your body feels, but when you really need dairy in a meal and when you don't. During this week, you'll notice how much we use cheese as a decorative condiment and how little you'll miss it when you find other alternatives. As an added bonus, dairy is a known inflammatory food that can increase heartburn, nasal allergies, arthritic pain, and tons of other ailments. After a week of not eating dairy, I think you'll be surprised at the difference you feel in your body. In my early 20s, I used to eat a ton of dairy, and I suffered from some of the ailments I was talking about. I was taking prescriptions for heartburn, and even with that prescription, I would never leave my house without antacid chews, and I a lot of times had to end my evenings early because my stomach was so upset. On top of all of that, I had horrible allergies. I took prescription antihistamines, a nasal steroid spray, a decongestant, and I carried an emergency inhaler with me all the time. Needless to say, I was a mess, but I loved dairy. I remember one trip I went to visit my family in Ohio, and we went to a steakhouse for dinner. Now I thought the steak would really upset my stomach, so I ordered a cheese plate. My stepmother got all challenging. She challenged me. She was like, I think the cause of your problems are too much dairy. And I remember telling her that she was full of it. And I took a piece of cheese and was like, see, shoved it in my mouth. Now, about 10 years ago, I found a great doctor in Chicago who was willing to help me solve my problems instead of medicating them. He put me on a strict elimination diet to discover what was causing my allergic reactions. This diet didn't only include dairy, but also sugar and gluten and vinegar, eggs, molds, and yeast. It was one of the most difficult things I have ever done. Slowly, I introduced each food back into my diet, and I found that dairy affected me the most, but not instantly. It took 4 days for the allergies to affect me. Once I stopped eating dairy, I was able to stop taking all of my medications, and to this day, the only thing I carry with me are maybe a few ibuprofen for emergencies. Now, this in itself was life-changing because medications have side effects. I would get really drowsy. I actually slept so much on that medicine that people thought I had narcolepsy, where you like involuntarily fall asleep. And when I went off the pills, my energy was through the roof. And my boyfriend at the time said I was like a completely different person. Every so often, I test dairy again, hoping that I can have an ice cream sundae someday. And every time I end up with the same bloating, heartburn, and a minor asthma attack, and it's 4 days later like clockwork. Making a decision to eliminate dairy drastically changed the quality of my life. Yeah, it worked for me, but why should it work for you? I mean, it might not. You may not have a dairy issue, but there's really only one way to find out. This week, I'm going to challenge you to avoid dairy 100% for the entire week. It's really not as hard as it sounds. You can cook with olive oil instead of butter. You can try vegan options from the grocery store. They even have frozen vegan meals. Like it's not difficult. Restaurants are used to leaving dairy off of dishes. So if you're out, just tell them to leave off the dairy. There are so many variations to eating dairy. And this may seem a little contradictory to last week's challenge when I asked you to stop eating foods that pretend to be something else. But you can substitute rice milk for cow's milk. Just be aware that you're actually drinking rice, like blended rice water. Coconut milk comes straight from the coconut fruit and has a natural milky consistency. Now, these things don't taste like milk because they're not milk, but you might be surprised that you actually like them. Things like vegan cheese made from soy are most likely going to confuse your body more than be beneficial. So for this week, you can avoid them and just opt out, like no cheese-like pretend product at all. But if you find that you should avoid dairy permanently, then these products can be a really big treat. Like you can have a soy cheese pizza or you can have coconut ice cream. The most important thing is to learn about what kind of alternatives you have. Now, people seem almost fearful of cutting out dairy because we've been told so often that it's the body's main source of calcium. There are many sources of calcium, some even better than dairy. Green vegetables, for instance, are full of calcium like spinach, kale, and broccoli. Be sure to include lots of vegetables in your diet this week if you're worried about calcium. Remember, I said that dairy affects me 4 days after I eat it, so you'll have to monitor your body throughout the week. On the day you start, you'll still have residual effects from what you ate days ago. By the end of the week, like by this weekend, you should have a clear picture of what your body feels like without dairy. Notice things like your muscle tightness, joint inflammation, sinus problems, and any kind of gastrointestinal discomfort. By the 7th day, by next Monday, you can make an informed decision about whether or not you want to continue cutting dairy out of your diet, either 100% or even like halfway or just leaving things off. Now, just to give you guys a heads up, if you're doing the next course, in 2 weeks, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing with gluten. So if you have symptoms like extreme bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, or nausea, then you could have celiac disease. Now, the test for celiac is only accurate if you're actually eating gluten. So if you want to find out if you have celiac, schedule your test now and within the next couple weeks, because in about 2 weeks or so, I'm going to ask you to cut it out. And once you do cut it out, then those tests will be less accurate. So make sure that you do that. Okay? Great. It's our final week of course 1. You should be feeling much, much more in control of your thoughts and your emotions. You should feel like you have purpose. You should be coming into a clearer picture about what you're supposed to do and finding that living a healthy and happy life is more about your thoughts and habits than anything else. So from today forward, I encourage you to continue your practice of affirmations, working on your goals, meditation, stretching, and incorporating the diet changes that we've set up in this class. Now, the next course, called How to Grow, will start next week. And this course tells you about how we continue to develop as adults, how to keep learning and growing in order to really nail down your life's purpose. I'll be teaching a class this weekend too on setting realistic New Year's resolutions. This course will be available in person at my studio in Chicago if you're in town, but also I'm going to broadcast it online if anyone wants to participate from other places. It's a great way to celebrate graduating from this class, so I hope you guys will be there. It's going to be fun. And of course, don't forget about Italy in the spring. The early bird registration rate ends January 15th for this retreat, and the spots are limited, so be sure to get registered soon if you're planning on coming. And lastly, if this class has helped you, please tell other people. I can only help people if they know I'm here. So share the next course on Facebook, on Twitter, tell your friends, tell your family, Or you could write me a testimonial online. That would be really helpful. Or you could do all of them. That'd be really super great. And imagine if everyone in your world had the same mindset that you have right now. Wouldn't that be fantastic? So I'll send you all the information that you need in an email on all the upcoming classes, the events, the retreat, and how to share this with other people. I'll send that in an email. So I am so proud of you guys for completing this course, and I am really looking forward to the next steps with all of you. Remember, you have me as a resource, so feel free to email me or message me on Facebook if you have any questions about your progress or if you need a little boost. I hope to see you on the 4th for this resolutions workshop. It's from 1 to 3 at my studio in Lincoln Square. Maybe afterwards we can celebrate. It'd be great. So have a great New Year's, everyone. You are starting 2014 off on the right foot. This is very good. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, I'll see you soon, I hope. All right, have a good day.